One of the most popular combinations in the overland community right now is the active cargo system from Leitner and the decked storage system. Both systems are a little bit pricey, but they work together perfectly and give you tons of dry storage along with quite a bit of versatility. Over the years, I've had second gen Tacomas and third gen Tacomas, both in short bed and long bed. I've put in the decked system first in one build, and I put in the Leitner system first in another build. So you're going to be able to compare how they look by themselves as well. In this video, I'm going to show you how I've used both of these systems and what I use them for, and how they've held up over the years, along with a little bit of the installation process, getting the products and putting them together when I bought them new. So we're going to start this video by going back in time to my first overland build. This is a 2017 Toyota Tacoma. It is the off-road edition and it's the short bed. This was back when I was in college and I was only buying things that were an absolute bargain. I found this rooftop tent off Facebook Marketplace, got them down to $1,000 cash and went and picked it up, but I didn't have anything to put it on. So I started doing my research trying to figure out what would be the best solution to put this tent on. And I found this rack here. That's going to be the active cargo rack from Leitner. This was a first generation rack. So you can see later whenever I get the new active cargo system, it's going to be forged. And so it's going to look a little bit different, but the mechanics are basically the same. And at the time I didn't have the deck system. So what I was using for dry storage in the back for all my camping gear were these big boxes that James found. I think they were maybe $50 a box, and I bought 2 of them so I could just pull those out and put all my camping gear inside. And at the time, I didn't have any accessories on my bed rack, so I was able to open up these boxes and access those from the sides, so it actually worked out just fine for the time. The tent that I bought online was the Silver Wing, and it was a hard shell that pops straight up, sort of a clamshell style, and you can see there's plenty of room for me to have my fan, my bag, and everything else I needed for a camping trip. Around a year later, I was able to get some accessories for the rack and put in the deck system. You can see here it's snowing decently hard for Arkansas. We don't get much snow here, so I wanted to test it out, see how it held up in the extreme weather, and it did just fine. You can see everything's still dry, everything's as it should be in the drawers. And as you can see, I still kept one of the boxes just so I could have a little bit more storage. And on the side, there's still the 2 ammo boxes. So those are covered up by the snow, but I have a small bag there with just some straps and some bungee cords. And on the other side, I have another ammo box, and I kept propane tanks, just the small ones, so I could use those for the buddy heater or a small grill. One of the things I love about the active cargo system accessories is that their accessories fit all of the other bed racks that they have. So all of the stuff, these dry boxes that fit my Tacoma, would be the same dry boxes that you would put on a Tundra, you would put on a GMC, any other truck. They also made a new generation for the racks, and they made it where their old accessories would still fit on the new generation, so I truly appreciated that as well. Another upgrade that I made during that time was I got a new tent. You can see this is the Free Spirit Evolution, and this is the first gen. I actually now have the second gen rooftop tent, and I wanted to clarify that I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. However, I do have an affiliate link with these companies, so if you use the links below to look at maybe the rooftop tent or the deck system or the Leitner rack system, and you bought something from that website, I would earn a small bit of commission from that sale. Now jumping back to the video, you can see all of the equipment held up in an Arkansas winter, which is pretty mild. It was only in the 20s. Now, before we go to the next truck and the next build, I wanted to show a quick slideshow of some of the progression over the years of this truck and how it looked at different stages. You can see there it doesn't have the deck system, and we took it to Colorado, had a good time with it. Then I was able to add the deck system. I was able to put some side accessories on the rack system. I put on some skid plates underneath along with some rock sliders, put on a bumper, made it have that full overland build, and I absolutely loved how it looked towards the end. The only reason that I sold that truck was so that I could buy a house. I had that truck completely paid off, and I had a dealership willing to offer me more than what I paid for it, so I went ahead and took that deal and was able to put a down payment on a house. Now, my next purchase was a 2021 TRD off-road, and the main difference from my 2017 and this 2021 was I went with the long bed, which gave me one more foot in the bed, goes from a 5 foot to a 6 foot, So you have one more foot in the deck system, have one more foot in the Leitner bed rack. So it's just a lot more opportunity to carry more stuff. And on my 2017, I had that hardtop tent, but it was longer than the short bed. It was a 6-foot tent when you have a 5-foot bed. So I either had to have it sticking a foot off the truck, which I really didn't like. So I had it sticking a foot over the cab of the truck. And this one, it just lines up perfectly where that rooftop tent is going to be covering the exact length of the bed. So it looks a little bit more natural in my opinion. And as you can see, for this build, we put in the deck system first, which is recommended. It's a lot easier to put this in first and then the bed rack. And you can see it has a nice look actually by itself without the bed rack on. If you're actually going to be using your truck to haul and carry stuff, and you're not going to want to have that Leitner active cargo rack on, it's definitely going to give you a lot more space, a lot more utility. And of course, if you do put a rooftop tent on top, you're not going to be hauling too much. Now, when I bought this truck, it had this hardcover already on it, and so I used that for a little while. Whenever it's down, it does give you quite a bit of dry storage in the bed of your truck, and it does have a nice look. I know it does help with the aerodynamics a little bit. People say it helps with the gas mileage because of that. And whenever you need to use the back of your bed, you can see it just folds up going up there. It did have a little piece coming off, so didn't love that, but you just snap those into place. Whenever you lifted it up, it didn't have as much stability as I would like it to, so I would recommend if you're hauling something big just to take the cover off completely. Of course, we have the deck system lined out, ready to be put in, and we're not going to really want a hard cover and the deck system. I just don't think that that's a good pairing at all. And as I mentioned earlier, there is a difference in the deck systems for the short bed and the long bed, so make sure, especially if you're buying one used, that you know if it's for the short bed or the long bed, so you don't get that mixed up. However, the bed is practically the exact same for the 2nd gen and the 3rd gen Tacomas, so as long as you get the short bed and the long bed piece right, you would be able to put something from a 3rd gen into a 2nd gen and vice versa. And we're talking from experience there, because this is a long bed 3rd gen, and we're putting this exact same system in the 2nd gen later in the video. Now, the installation process is going to be different for truck to truck. I know for full-size trucks, it's actually a little bit easier than it is for some of the mid-size trucks. And I'm not completely certain, but I think the main difference is the back of the truck has tie-downs for most of the bigger trucks that they can use to anchor down. And for the Tacoma, you can see we have to put in our own tie down. And whenever we were drilling in that spot there, our drill completely broke. I mean, these Tacomas are just built different. But we got a new drill bit in there, and you can see now we're locked in. Look at the concentration on Gabe's face right there. Huge shout out to Gabe. He's helped me put in the deck system on this 3rd gen and on the 2nd gen. It is a 2-man job. You got to go underneath the truck and hold the nut tight while someone else is tightening it from the other side. So this isn't something that you can knock out by yourself. Now, I've seen the commercials and I've seen other people put this system in 45 minutes to an hour and a half. I just don't think that's quite realistic for the Tacoma. Of course, we were filming, so that probably added a little bit of time. I would say it's going to take you close to 2 hours, maybe 2.5. And before you buy the deck system, that is something that you're going to have to sit down and think about. Make sure that you're planning on having this deck system for a while. You're not just going to get rid of it later, because you are drilling in some scenarios like this in a brand new truck, and you want to make sure you're making the right decision there. Now, all of that being said, I did take this system out and put this system in a different Tacoma. And whenever I did sell the truck, I sold it to Carvana, and they didn't dock me at all for these holes. Now, I didn't hide the holes at all, but I also didn't just bring it to light saying like, hey, check this out. Another big factor that you're going to have to consider is there is a new version of the deck system for mid-size trucks. Now, you could get either the new version or you could get the classic version for a little bit cheaper, depending on your preference. And there is going to be pros and cons to both. Of course, you can find a comparison on their website using the link below if you wanted to check that out. But the main difference that I saw was instead of having a big and a small drawer, they take that out completely and make it one big drawer, which is going to give you a lot more space. On the website, they're saying that's going to give you 30% more volume in that one big drawer versus having two separate drawers, which makes a lot of sense. They're also saying that the drawer is going to pull out a little bit farther and the material is going to be a little bit stronger. I really don't know the difference in the material that they're using. Another cool thing that they did was they listened to the customers who said that there was absolutely no reason to have a bottle opener on the deck system because you couldn't use it. It was completely useless. And they listened to them and they took that out completely. One of the things that I noticed from having the short bed versus the long bed was I expected there to be another set of ammo boxes on the backside, and they easily could have put those in, and they didn't give those to me. So I felt like there was just a lot of wasted space. They do address that with the newer ammo boxes. Instead of having those be completely blocked off, they actually make those open to where you could slide things in under the sides. So that's really cool. You're able to utilize a lot more space with the newer ones. So that's definitely something to check out. And another big factor for the ammo boxes is you could take those out now. So they have a big ammo box and a smaller ammo box that you could put in there. And the old ones weren't waterproof. The new ones are waterproof, so you could put a lot more things in there and trust that that's going to be, stay out of the weather. And the last big difference that I saw is in the new one, they're going to give you 2 tie downs. Now, of course, if you already have a deck system inside your truck, you're not really going to have too much more value of switching to the new deck system. But if you're getting a new truck and you had to pick between the old or the new system, I'd probably splurge for the new system and check out some of those newer features that they have. But taking a look at the system that we installed here, this is the OG original deck system. You can still buy this at their website, but it has the smaller drawer on the left and it rolls straight out. And then you have the bigger drawer that's going to be on the right. And they do come with quite a few accessories. You have a big box for the big side and a smaller box for the small side that you could keep in there. I know a lot of people will buy additional boxes, and whenever they want to go camping, they'll switch out the big box for more camping gear. If they're going fishing, they'll switch it out for fishing gear. If they needed to go work on something, they could switch it out for a toolbox full of tools, and they could just, keep all the extra stuff in their garage and load it up with whatever they need for that assignment. In the big side, you're going to have that organizer right there. You can see these boxes look like toolboxes, and they do not come assembled. The assembly is really easy. There's going to be one big rod that's going to go all the way through the back. You just tap it in with a hammer. And then there's going to be a seal that you need to press down on the inside. And if it comes a little bit long, you can cut it to size. But you're going to put that all the way around, and that's just going to keep it a little bit more weatherproof. Coming up later in the video, I will show you how I have everything set up in the deck system, all the equipment I have there, along with all of the equipment that I have in the dry storage on the Leitner rack. But before I did that, sort of wanted to show you what this looks like completely empty. You see here, you have the organizer, you have some shelves, you can move those around, take those in and out, and completely have that exactly how you want it. Now that we have the deck system fully installed, I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the unboxing and installation of the Leitner system. Now, the difference of the Leitner system from my 2017 rack to this one here was the 2017 was on the short bed, and it was their first generation of a rack. Now they have the forged system, so it's going to be forged metal all made in one piece, so there's a lot less connecting pieces, supposed to make it stronger, supposed to make it lighter. And sort of similar to the deck system, they still give you the option to buy the OG. For right now, they call it the Classic. So if you wanted to save a little bit of money and get the Classic instead of the Forged, you can do that. Now, I had absolutely zero issues when I had the Classic version of the Leitner rack. I know there's a little bit of a look difference. They say the new one's going to be a little bit stronger because it's forged in one piece, but I think it's a personal preference, and you could go either way, and you can't go wrong. Now, I got a little bit gung-ho. We got all the parts unboxed, and we were looking at everything. I looked at the picture on the front, and I'm like, I can put this together extremely quick. And every time I would start to do one sector of the piece, I'd be like, okay, this is good. This is how it needs to be. I'd look at the instructions, and I'd forget to do a small detail before that piece, where I'd have to undo everything I just did to put that piece back. So be sure to read the instructions. They're there for a reason. It's going to save you a lot of time. When I bought the last rack for my 2017, I bought it used and it came off someone's truck, so it was already put together. Just had to transfer it to my truck. Really easy. When I bought this one, I went with the forged system and it came in a few different boxes, but surprisingly, everything was extremely lightweight. I think the entire rack system all put together is 85 pounds, but it's extremely durable. Looking at the website, you can see that it has the aluminum alloy construction. It has the off-road dynamic weight capacity of 400 pounds and the on-road dynamic weight capacity of 800 pounds with a park static weight capacity of 1,400 pounds. And of course, there's going to be a little bullet point on here that says they're compatible with the deck storage system. And I know one thing that people really love about the deck system and the Leitner system is they're both made in the USA. Well guys, I'm back on the website and I can't seem to find the classics anywhere. They may have taken those off, I'm not sure. You may be able to call them to see if you could get a classic still, but it looks like the only ones they have in stock right now is the forged. And I have a feeling that's exactly what Deck's going to do too. They're going to have that option to get the OG for a while, but once they run out of those inventory, I doubt that they're going to be making more, so I bet that's going to be a limited time sell. I would imagine most people would want the newer one anyways, but that's just something to keep in mind. Now, if you were just going to have the Leitner system and you didn't want to have the deck system, and you were still wanting to keep all the stuff in your bed dry, they do have a bed cover that's compatible with this system that you could get on their website, so that's still an option for you. I know the main thing that scares people off from this rack system is the price. It's $2,000 just to get this rack, and if you do that, you're going to have just a bare bones rack, nothing attached to it, and they do sell quite a few really cool accessories, and that's one of the things I love about this rack is how customizable it is. Of course, if you can find one on Facebook Marketplace or someone selling it that you know, I would definitely snag it because these are going to hold up very well. Definitely would be something I would not mind buying used. I know it's going to be a little bit harder to find a used deal for a rack that's going to fit your truck. However, a lot of those people selling these rack systems are willing to sell the accessories separate, and sometimes you could find a good deal on getting an accessory bundle from someone who's getting rid of their rack system. And that's exactly what I did to get the accessories for mine. I know some of my accessories are first gen and some of mine are second gen, but both work just fine for this rack system. That has to be the biggest downside to this rack system is how expensive the rack is and all the accessories are. They're really good quality, they're gonna last, they're gonna withstand the weather, but you're gonna pay for it. The GearPod XL, which is the biggest GearPod they have, is $700. They have a GearPod Dual, which is the size of 2 GearPods, and that's gonna cost you $500, and their regular GearPod is $350. So that GearPod XL is the size of 3 of those GearPods, and the Dual's the size of 2, the GearPod's just 1. They also have a Leitner med kit that has everything you need there. It's also $350. That could go inside one of the gear boxes. They have a gear bag. They have a gear bag 3-pack with different pouches so you could label different things. They have a hydropod, so it's more of a shower kit. And they have a universal mounting plate. I do have 2 universal mounting plates. I don't have anything on them yet. I plan on putting a propane tank and a gas tank on one, but we'll see how that goes in the future. They have a lot of mounts and brackets on their website as well. They have the Max Trax recovery, a few different roto packs for, gasoline, one for diesel, and a lot of different accessories that you can get from their website. I know the main things that I wanted after looking at all of the stuff they had on their website was at least 1 gearbox on each side, and then having 1 or 2 universal mounting plates, just so I could have some options down the road. So now we can finally take a look at the truck I'm currently driving. This is my 2014 TRD Off-Road 2nd Gen Tacoma, and it is a long bed as well. And once you take a look from a distance, this thing looks like it just is meant to be together. That rack system and the deck system, they just fit so perfectly. When you open those doors, it's not going to hit those support arms. You can see you can still reach these ammo boxes on the side. I don't have anything in this ammo box right now. Probably going to put some more of those small propane bottles in there just so I could have those in case of an emergency. Now, the only downside to these little side boxes are they're not waterproof, so anything that you put in those could get water damage, and I have a lot of dry storage in the system right now, so I really didn't need to put anything in there. Now the left side is the smaller drawer, so you can't put near as much stuff in there. You can see I have quite a few hammocks. I do a little bit of disc golf, so I have a full set there. I have my fishing gear in this box here, and I have some hiking poles that I use if I ever go hiking. And in the back there, I keep this little box. I use this as my toolbox, so I'll have just a few emergency tools in here just in case I ever need to pull something out. Now I have all of my screwdrivers, measuring tapes, a rag there in case I'm taking something off that has some oil on it, and some specialty tools that I use for the tent and the rack system. I think the only tool that I don't have in the toolbox right now that I typically do is a hammer. You never know whenever that's going to come in handy. But these toolboxes are extremely high quality. They have two little snaps right there that you really got to push down to get on. And you could put a lock there if you wanted to lock that up. But if someone wanted to break in there, they're going to break in there. So I typically don't have that locked. I know if you go to the Decked website, you can get locks for both sides so you can lock up the drawers. However, on my last Tacoma, I was able to lock the tailgate, and you can't open these drawers more than 4 to 6 inches. So it's pretty much just as good as having locks on the drawers themselves if you're able to lock up the tailgate. I'm not able to do that with this Tacoma, so I am going to have to go ahead and bite the bullet to get those little locks there. You can see on the big side here, I have a little organizer with some of my go-to bug spray, duct tape, cards, pair of scissors. I always have a couple ultimate frisbees just in case I want to throw something around outside. You can see the football that I have in here. It needs a little bit of air. This bag here actually has 2 small collapsible chairs inside, so they're really portable. I really love having those just in the case of an emergency. But typically if I'm going camping, I'm going to pack some camping chairs. And if you're going to be going out in the woods or off-road at all, it's nice to have some recovery gear just in case. One of the things I think is essential is having a box to be able to plug up a hole in a tire. You never know what's going to happen out there. You could have a small hole in your tire, or one of your buddies could. It's always nice to have a quick, easy solution to get you back to town. And then if someone gets stuck, it's always nice to have a rope. We have a nice strong tow rope there. Depending on what angle, we should be able to pull anyone out or help me get pulled out if I'm stuck in a situation. Now, I have heard that kinetic rope could be better in most situations for pulling someone out than a tow strap, but I went ahead and went with the tow strap for now. I'll probably get a kinetic rope as well later down the road. And as you can see, when I put that in the back, you really can't see it. It's just there for emergencies, but it fits nicely. As I mentioned earlier, they actually got rid of this detail here, this bottle opener, as it's in a bad spot where you can't really use it. I know I have a rooftop tent on the top of this, but I've also thought about just sleeping on the deck system, since the rooftop tent will provide a natural cover, and this pretty much is boxed in. You can see on this side I have some bungee cords and some tie-down straps. Again, with this style of setup, I'm clearly set up to go more overlanding or camping. I'm not really using my truck to haul much furniture or haul anything around, as I really can't with this setup. I have the deck system with the Leitner rack, and there's not much room to put anything else. On the side here, this is the passenger side. I have the newer gear pod, and that's going to stand up by itself. It has a hinge, and it has just some of my kitchen supplies. You can see there's 2 universal mounts on that side. I want to eventually put probably a propane tank there, just so I can cook outside of my truck. On this side, it's going to be the gear pod extra large, so this is the size of 3 gear pods, and it has my shoes, a fan, and a few different power boxes in there. Now, the gear pods are pretty cool in the fact that you can secure them with a key and make sure that they're going to be locked, but you can also put padlocks on the side as well for some extra protection. And if you watched this much of the video, you'll probably be interested in a video I just made about my rooftop tent and how it fits this build. I'll be sure to make that video one of the options you can pick at the end of this video. Again, all of the links for these products are in the description below. If you wanted to check those out, I would earn a small percentage. I do appreciate you checking out this video. I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions, drop those in the comments below, and I'll try to get to those as fast as I can. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss another video.